Good evening and welcome to the Sleeping Zoo. Facts to fall asleep to. The story of the red fox is one of the most successful mammalian migrations in the history of the planet, a narrative of a creature that has refused to be pinned down by the traditional boundaries of biology or geography. To understand Vulpes, we must first look back roughly 10 million years to the Miocene epoch, when the ancestral lines of the Canidae family began to diverge in North America. While the heavier, pack-oriented ancestors of the modern wolf and coyote moved toward a social power-based hunting strategy, a smaller and more agile lineage took a different path. This was the Vulpine line, the true foxes, which eventually crossed the Bering Land Bridge into Eurasia. Once they arrived in the Old World, they underwent a spectacular radiation, adapting to everything from the frozen tundras of Siberia to the blistering deserts of North Africa. Today, the red fox is the most widely distributed wild carnivore in the world, claiming territory across 5 continents and nearly every conceivable climate. They have managed to colonize the entire northern hemisphere, from the Arctic Circle to Central America and North Africa. And their later introduction to Australia in the mid-19th century serves as a stark reminder of their terrifying efficiency as an invasive species. Within this global empire, taxonomists recognize approximately 45 distinct subspecies, a number that reflects the fox's incredible genetic plasticity. In the high altitudes of the Sierra Nevada, we find the specialized Vulpes nicata, a fox with a thicker winter coat and smaller footpads suited for life in the deep snow. Conversely, the Vulpes arabica of the Arabian Peninsula is a much leaner, lankier version of the archetype, with massive ears that serve as radiators to dissipate the desert heat. This ability to shapeshift across generations is what separates the true foxes from the true dogs of the genus Canis. While a wolf is fundamentally a wolf wherever it stands, the red fox is a local reflection of its landscape. The evolutionary split between Vulpes and Canis occurred about 12 million years ago, a parting of ways that saw the foxes prioritize solitary intelligence and stealth over the brute strength of the pack. This distinction is vital because it explains why the red fox feels so fundamentally different from a dog. It is a creature that operates on a different frequency, one that is more aligned with the calculated patience of a feline than the boisterous energy of a hound. This brings us to the great biological riddle of the fox, often described as the cat-like canine. If you were to observe a red fox from a distance without knowing its lineage, you might be forgiven for thinking you were watching a long-legged, bushy-tailed cat. This is not a coincidence, but a profound example of convergent evolution. The most striking evidence of this feline overlap is found in the fox eyes. Unlike almost all other canids, which possess round pupils, the red fox has vertical slit pupils similar to those of a domestic tabby or a leopard. This adaptation is a specialized tool for a sit-and-wait predator that operates primarily in the dim light of dawn and dusk. The vertical slit allows for a much finer control over the amount of light entering the eye, providing superior depth perception when pouncing. It enables the fox to see with crystalline clarity in the high-contrast environment of a moonlit forest floor, where a round pupil might be overwhelmed by glare or lose detail in the shadows. The mimicry of feline traits continues in the fox's sensory apparatus, specifically through the vibrissae or whiskers. Most people are familiar with the long, sensitive hairs on a fox's snout, which help it navigate through tight burrows and dense undergrowth in total darkness. However, the red fox takes this a step further by possessing carpal vibrissae, small tufts of sensitive whiskers located on the back of its front legs, just above the paws. These leg whiskers act as tactile sensors that provide the fox with a map of the ground it is standing on, allowing it to feel the subtle vibrations of prey moving underground or the snap of a twig before it even consciously registers the sound. This level of tactile sensitivity is nearly unheard of in the canine world and is much more characteristic of specialized feline hunters. It allows the fox to move with a silent ghost-like gait, placing its paws with a precision that borders on the supernatural. Even the fox's weaponry follows this feline blueprint. While a dog's claws are blunt, non-retractable tools used primarily for traction and digging, the red fox possesses claws that are partially retractable. This keeps them sharper than those of a wolf or a coyote, allowing the fox to use its front paws as grasping tools during a hunt. These sharp, curved claws also grant the red fox a limited but impressive climbing ability. It is not uncommon to see a red fox lounging on a low-hanging tree branch or scaling a 6-foot garden fence with the fluid ease of a house cat. This verticality expands their hunting and escape options exponentially, allowing them to survey their kingdom from heights that would be inaccessible to their larger, ground-bound cousin. When a fox pounces, it does not simply bite like a dog. It often uses its forepaws to pin the prey to the ground first, a patting motion that is pure feline in its execution. This hybrid nature extends into the very bones of the animal. The red fox has a skeleton that is remarkably light and flexible, with bones that are thinner and more porous than those of a dog of similar sizes. This lightness is essential for the mousing pounce, a high arcing leap that is the hallmark of fox hunting. To achieve this, the fox must be able to launch itself several feet into the air and land with pinpoint accuracy, often head first into deep snow or thick grass. A heavier, more dog-like frame would struggle with the physics of this maneuver, but the fox's lithe body acts like a coiled spring. Their tails, which can account for more than a third of their total body length, serve as a critical counterbalance during these aerial acrobatics. Known as a brush, the tail is not merely a decorative plume. It is a sophisticated rudder that the fox can whip around in mid-air to adjust its trajectory or maintain its balance on a narrow ledge. The coat of the red fox is another masterpiece of functional design, though it is often misunderstood as being purely red. In reality, the red fox comes in a dizzying array of color phases, from the cross fox, with its dark dorsal stripe, to the nearly black silver fox of the northern latitudes. Regardless of the color, the fur is composed of two distinct layers. The dense, silky underfur provides the primary insulation, trapping a layer of warm air against the skin, while the longer, coarser guard hairs are coated in natural oils that make the coat almost entirely waterproof. This all-weather suit is what allows a fox to maintain a steady internal body temperature while sleeping curled up in an open field during a blizzard. They do not typically use dens for warmth, preferring to reserve underground burrows for raising their young, known as kits. Instead, they wrap their magnificent tails around their bodies like a built-in muffler, tucking their noses and paws into the fur to conserve every watt of metabolic heat. As the sun begins to set, the fox undergoes a crepuscular metabolic shift. This is the moment when the trickster truly awakens. Their heart rate increases, and their senses sharpen as they transition from the lethargy of a midday nap to the high alert state required for nocturnal navigation. This transition is governed by a circadian rhythm that is perfectly tuned to the blue hour, that sliver of time when the light is too low for diurnal birds of prey, but too bright for purely nocturnal hunters like owls. By owning this transitional space, the fox avoids direct competition with the giants of the sky and the woods. They move through the landscape like a liquid, their orange fur turning a muted, shadowy gray in the fading light, rendering them almost invisible to the untrained eye. It is here, in the deepening shadows, that the fox begins to deploy its most secret and sophisticated weapon, its relationship with the invisible forces of the planet itself. We are beginning to understand that the fox does not just see the world. It feels the magnetic pull of the earth, using a sense we are only just beginning to decode to turn the hunt into a mathematical certainty. The true genius of the red fox lies not in its speed or its strength, but in its ability to perceive a layer of reality that is entirely invisible to the human eye and even to most other mammals. In 2011, a team of researchers observing foxes hunting in the deep snow of the Czech Republic noticed a statistical anomaly that would redefine our understanding of canine biology. They found that when a fox pounces on prey it cannot see, prey hidden deep beneath a blanket of winter snow, it is significantly more successful if it faces a very specific direction. When leaping toward the northeast, roughly 20 degrees off magnetic north, the foxes were successful in 73% of their attempts. When they jumped in any other direction, their success rate plummeted to a mere 18%. This revelation suggests that the red fox is likely the first large mammal known to use magnetoreception, not just for navigation, but as a rangefinder for hunting. To visualize how this works, one must imagine the fox vision as an augmented reality display. It is believed that the fox perceives the Earth's magnetic field as a shaded patch, or a ring of light in its field of vision, which remains fixed toward magnetic north. As the fox stalks, a vole or a mouse moving beneath the snow, it listens for the high-frequency rustle of the rodent's feet. Once it has located the sound, it moves forward until the auditory signal of the prey lines up with the fixed magnetic mark in its eyes. At the exact moment these 2 points overlap, the fox knows it is at a specific distance from its target, roughly 3 to 4 feet away, which is the optimal distance for its high-arcing pounce. This is Euclidean geometry performed in the blink of an eye. The fox is not guessing where the mouse is. It is calculating a trajectory based on the fundamental physics of the planet. When it launches into the air, it does so with the confidence of a guided missile, its body following a perfect parabolic curve that ends with its snout driving through the crust of the snow and directly onto the neck of its meal. This reliance on magnetic alignment is the reason why a hunting fox often looks so inquisitive, tilting its head from side to side in a rhythmic, almost mechanical fashion. It is triangulating. By shifting its head, the fox is comparing the timing and intensity of the sounds reaching its ears, while simultaneously checking its magnetic compass to ensure the distance is correct. This acoustic intelligence is powered by two of the most efficient sound-gathering tools in the animal kingdom, the pinna. The large triangular ears of the red fox are controlled by over 20 individual muscles, allowing them to rotate independently like satellite dishes. They can pivot a full 180 degrees, scanning the environment for frequencies that human ears cannot even register. A red fox can hear the low-frequency scuttle of a beetle's legs across a dry leaf, or the ultra-high-frequency squeak of a shrew from over 100 feet away. Their hearing is so sensitive that they can detect the sound of a rodent gnawing on a root several inches underground or beneath several feet of packed earth and snow. The shape of the ear itself is an engineering marvel. The deep ridges and folds of the inner ear are designed to funnel sound waves toward the eardrum while filtering out the noise of the wind. This allows the fox to maintain a sonic lock on its prey, even in a blustery field. When we speak of the fox as a trickster, we are often referencing its ability to seemingly appear out of thin air. But this is simply the result of an animal that knows exactly where you are long before you have any inkling of its presence. They live in a world of acoustic maps, where every rustle, snap, and heartbeat is a coordinate that tells them the location of friend, foe, or food. This sensitivity is also their primary defense. A fox rarely needs to fight because it is almost never surprised. However, the red fox is not a silent phantom. It possesses a vocal repertoire that is among the most complex and jarring in the mammalian world. While they are often solitary hunters, they are deeply social animals with a need to communicate across large, often densely wooded territories. Scientists have identified at least 28 distinct categories of vocalization, each with its own specific social grammar. Perhaps the most famous and most terrifying to the uninitiated human is the vixen's scream. This is a blood-curdling, high-pitched shriek that typically occurs during the breeding season. To the human ear, it sounds like a woman in distress, but to the fox, it is a powerful beacon. It is a long-distance call used primarily by females to signal their location to potential mates or to warn off rivals. In the dead of night, this sound can travel for miles, cutting through the undergrowth with a haunting metallic resonance. Then there is the geckering. This is a rapid-fire, chattering series of guttural sounds, often described as a yak-yak noise, that is used during social disputes or aggressive encounters. When two foxes are competing for territory or a specific food source, they will stand side by side, arched backs and fluffed-out tails, and unleash a torrent of geckering. It is a vocal staring contest, a way to establish dominance without resorting to the physical trauma of a fight. For a creature as lightly built as the fox, an injury can be a death sentence, so they have evolved a sophisticated system of bluffing through sound. Beyond these, they use soft whines to greet family members, huffs to signal mild alarm, and a variety of barks that are shorter and sharper than those of a domestic dog. Each bark is individually distinct. A fox can tell the difference between a stranger's bark and that of its mate or offspring simply by the pitch and duration of the sound. This social complexity is mirrored in their territorial chemistry. The red fox is an animal that writes its autobiography on the landscape using scent. They possess a variety of scent glands, the most potent of which is located at the base of the tail, often called the violet gland. While it doesn't produce a floral scent, this gland, along with their urine, creates a powerful, skunk-like musk that serves as a chemical fence. Fox urine contains a unique cocktail of sulfur-based compounds known as quinines, which are incredibly persistent in the environment. To a human, the smell is pungent and acrid, but to a fox, a single spray on a prominent rock or a tuft of grass is a data-rich document. It tells passing foxes the age, sex, health, and social status of the individual who left it. It can even signal how long ago the fox passed by, allowing them to time-share a territory without ever coming into physical contact. This chemical language is part of the crepuscular transition mentioned earlier. As the light fades, the fox begins its scent-marking patrol, carefully refreshing its boundaries. This is also when their metabolic rate peaks, supported by a liver that is highly efficient at processing the proteins and fats found in a high-meat diet. Unlike dogs, which are true omnivores, foxes lean more toward the hypercarnivore end of the spectrum, though they are opportunistic enough to gorge on fallen fruit, berries, and even insects when the season demands it. This dietary flexibility is what has allowed them to colonize such a vast array of environments. Whether they are hunting lemmings in the Arctic or raiding a compost bin in a London suburb, the red fox remains the ultimate generalist. But as we look closer at their history with humanity, we see that the fox has occupied a space in our minds that no other animal can claim. They are the liminal creatures, existing on the threshold between the wild and the domestic, the forest and the farm. This unique position has birthed a global tapestry of folklore that spans millennia. In the East, the fox is often seen as a semi-divine, multi-tailed entity with the power to possess humans or grant wisdom. In the West, it is the crafty Reynard, the peasant hero who uses wit to outsmart the slow-witted nobility. This archetype of the trickster is not just a human invention. It is a reflection of the fox's actual behavior, its ability to solve complex problems, its playful nature, and its refusal to be tamed by the conventional rules of the animal kingdom. We will now turn our attention to these myths and the extraordinary scientific experiment that attempted to turn this wild spirit into a household friend, revealing the deep genetic secrets of domestication. If the red fox is a master of physical transitions, moving between field and forest, day and night, it is equally adept at traversing the boundaries of human imagination. No other animal occupies such a polarized space in our collective psyche. To the ancient Japanese, the kitsune was a multi-tailed messenger of Inari, the god of rice and prosperity, a creature of such profound wisdom that it could take human form to guide or deceive. In the medieval fables of Europe, Reynard the fox was the ultimate underdog, a peasant hero who used silver-tongued wit to escape the iron jaws of the nobility and the church. In the stories of the First Nations of North America, the fox is often the firebringer, the nimble thief who stole the sun or the spark of life to give to a shivering humanity. This universal casting of the fox as the trickster is not merely a literary convenience. It is a recognition of the fox actual cognitive flexibility. The fox does not survive by following the rigid hierarchies of the wolf pack or the brute force of the bear. It survives by being a fluid thinker. It is an animal that observes, waits, and exploits the gaps in the systems of others. In the modern era, this gap-filling has taken on a startling new form: the urban fox. In the mid-20th century, as human suburbs sprawled into the countryside, the red fox did something that many other predators could not. It did not retreat. It integrated. In cities like London, Bristol, and Toronto, the fox has undergone a behavioral and physiological shift so rapid it has stunned evolutionary biologists. These city foxes have shorter snouts and smaller brains than their rural cousins, traits often associated with domestication. They have traded the vast territories of the wild for the micro-real estate of a garden shed or a railway embankment. Their diet has shifted from the high-protein intake of voles and rabbits to the processed buffet of human refuse. Yet they have maintained a level of health and reproductive success that rivals their forest-dwelling ancestors. This is not a sign of degeneracy, but of supreme adaptability. The urban fox has learned to read traffic patterns, to recognize the sound of a specific kitchen door opening, and to navigate the light-polluted nights of the 21st century with the same precision its ancestors used to navigate the primeval woods. This capacity for rapid change leads us to one of the most significant biological experiments in history: the Siberian silver fox study. In 1959, the Soviet geneticist Dmitry Belyaev began a quest to understand the ghost in the machine of domestication. He took a population of wild silver foxes, a melanistic variant of the red fox, and began a process of selective breeding based on a single simple criteria: tameness. He did not select for coat color, tail shape, or size. He only selected for the foxes that showed the least amount of fear toward humans. What happened next is often cited as the holy grail of evolutionary biology. Within just a few generations, the tame foxes began to undergo a radical physical transformation. Their coats, once a uniform silver-black, began to develop white patches, a trait known as piebalding. Their ears started to flop like those of a puppy. Their tails began to curl over their backs. Most remarkably, their hormone levels shifted. Their adrenal glands shrank, reducing their fight or flight response, while their serotonin levels, the feel-good chemical of the brain, skyrocketed. This suite of changes, now known as domestication syndrome, proved that behavioral traits are genetically linked to physical ones. By choosing kindness over aggression, Belyaev had accidentally unlocked the same genetic pathway that turned the wolf into the dog thousands of years ago. Yet, despite this potential for friendship, the red fox remains stubbornly, beautifully wild. Even the tame descendants of Belyaev's foxes retain an essence that is distinctly vulpine. They are not dogs, and they are not cats. They are a third way. To look into the amber eye of a fox is to see a creature that has lived through the Ice Age, survived the expansion of the Roman Empire, and thrived in the shadow of the skyscraper. They are the survivors of the Anthropocene, the shadows that flicker at the edge of our headlights, reminding us that nature is not something that happened in the past, but something that is happening now, right in our own backyards. As we conclude our journey into the world of the red fox, we are left with the image of an animal that is more than the sum of its parts. It is a biological rangefinder, a chemical cartographer, and a cultural icon. It is a reminder that in a world of increasing rigidity, there is still room for the fluid, the clever, and the adaptable. The fox does not ask for our permission to exist. It simply finds a way. Whether it is pouncing on a mouse in a silent, snow-covered field, or trotting down a rain-slicked street in the heart of London, the red fox remains the shadow of the world, a silent golden thread connecting the ancient past to the uncertain future. Thank you and good night.